In the main canon of the Castlevania series, the story revolves around the Belmont clan, a group of sworn vampire slayers and enemies of the night. And of those the Belmont clan opposed, none were greater or more deadly than the vampire Dracula, lord of all vampires and king of the night. Count Dracula Tepes is the main antagonist of the Castlevania series, as well as the final boss of most games. It is the role of each new member of the Belmont clan to conquer Dracula's magic castle and defeat the vampire lord himself, sealing him away for 100 years. But the Belmonts were not always vampire hunters, and Dracula was not always their sworn enemy. Matthias Kronkvest was a broken man. He was filled with grief after learning of his wife's early death. She had fallen ill while he was away on crusade, and by the time he had discovered that, it was too late. Matthias was bedridden, and eventually returned home, leaving his friend Leon to fight in the war against heresy alone. But despite the grief he felt over the loss of his wife, Elizabetha, he had no desire to die and be with her. In fact, it was exactly the opposite. Matthias craved immortality. It was boredom that led to the actions of Walter Bernard. He was a powerful vampire lord whose domain was the Forest of Eternal Night. The forest was given its name due to the Ebony Stone, a vampire artifact which caused its surroundings to be shrouded in darkness, only adding to Walter's immense power. He liked to alleviate his boredom by playing cat and mouse with would-be vampire hunters that entered his forest. Walter would lure in his prey by kidnapping whoever was most precious to them, forcing the pursuit. Then, to finish the game, Walter would often turn those he kidnapped into vampires, and crush any hope there was of saving them. Walter often entertained himself this way, and he was promised the challenge of a lifetime if he were to kidnap Sarah Trantoul. Matthias despised God for allowing the death of his wife, and he planned to defy God by becoming immortal. To do this, Matthias had obtained the Crimson Stone, one of the two treasures of the vampires. The Crimson Stone would allow Matthias to command the Grim Reaper, Death, and trap the soul of a powerful vampire, then keep that power for himself, thus becoming immortal. Matthias intended to use this power to trap the soul of Walter Bernard, but Walter was a very powerful vampire, and Matthias knew he wouldn't stand a chance of defeating him on his own. He needed the help of one of his closest friends, Leon Belmont. Sarah Trantoul happened to be the betrothed of Leon Belmont. Leon was a knight whose combat abilities were said to be second to none, and he wasn't going to let Sarah's kidnapping go unchallenged. The church forbid Leon to pursue Walter, as it was unauthorized and they were currently focused on the war against heresy. Leon renounced his title of Baron, left his company of knights, even leaving his sword, and went to challenge Lord Walter Bernard. Upon arriving in the Forest of Eternal Night, Leon met an alchemist, Rinaldo Gandolfi, who had once fallen prey to Walter's gang himself. And with Rinaldo's help, Leon defeated the 5 guardians of Walter's castle and was able to rescue his beloved Sarah. But things would not end so happily for Leon. Matthias was a knight, alchemist, and brilliant tactician, and he put these skills to use when devising and executing his plan. Matthias was able to masterfully manipulate both Walter and Leon into participating in his scheme. Matthias had learned of Walter and of the game that he liked to play, and he told him of a certain knight, one who is undefeated in battle and unmatched in skill, Leon Belmont. He also told Walter just how to attract Leon's attention. If he were to kidnap Sarah, Leon would follow closely behind. But what Walter didn't know was that Matthias had a scheme which would ensure Leon was victorious, and when the time arose, Walter's power would be his. When Leon arrived at Rinaldo's cabin after rescuing Sarah, they discovered the unthinkable. Walter had turned Sarah into a vampire. It was an unwinnable situation. Rinaldo told Leon that the only way to free Sarah from her vampirism was to defeat Walter using the enchanted whip at its full power. But the only way to achieve that full power would be to use the whip and kill Sarah, who now carried some of Walter's cells inside her. Sarah overheard the conversation between Rinaldo and Leon, and she gladly offered her life to put an end to Walter in his demented game. Though reluctantly, Leon gave in and slew his betrothed with the enchanted whip that Rinaldo had made. Sarah's soul was bound to the whip, and the vampire killer was born, a weapon that would be used for generations by the Belmont clan to slay evil and protect the innocent. All had gone according to Matthias' plan thus far. All that was left was to wait. Leon stormed the vampire's castle one last time, wielding the newly created vampire killer. In an intense clash with Walter, Leon took vengeance for the death of his betrothed and for all of those who had been tortured and killed by Walter. But it was time for the climax of Matthias' plan. As Walter's vampiric soul was leaving his body, Matthias commanded Death to snatch it and put it into the Crimson Stone. Matthias had at long last achieved his goal. He had the power and immortality of a vampire lord. Walter knew what was happening as soon as it began, but Leon was in shock and was confused at seeing his old friend here in the castle of the enemy. Matthias explained that he had lured Leon here, knowing that he alone had the power to defeat Walter, and that after he did, Matthias would be able to forever curse God for the early death of his wife. After his explanation, he offered his new gift to Leon, telling him that he should join him, and they would both live immortally, cursing God. Matthias thought Leon would surely understand, since he too had recently lost the one he cared about most. But Leon refused, as
eternity without her would be nothing but emptiness,
and made a vow.
You have become a cursed being, and I will never forgive you. This whip and my kinsmen will destroy you someday. From this day on, the Belmont clan will hunt the night!
And thus the Belmont clan became vampire hunters. Leon was never able to defeat Matthias himself, and after a brief clash with Death, Leon would never see his old friend again. Matthias had transformed into a bat and fled. Matthias, once a knight in service to God, was now a vampire. After his encounter with Leon, Matthias moved away to a foreign land and declared himself as Lord of all vampires and as King of the Night. He would eventually build a magic fortress called Castlevania and go by the name Dracula.